An appeals court has reversed the 2022 federal conviction of former Nebraska Congressman Jeff Fortenberry, ruling he should not have been tried in Los Angeles. Fortenberry was convicted on charges he lied to federal authorities about an illegal $30,000 contribution to his campaign from a foreign billionaire at a 2016 fundraiser in Los Angeles. He resigned following pressure from congressional leaders and Nebraska's Republican governor. In its ruling, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit wrote that the trial venue of Los Angeles was improper because Fortenberry made the false statement during interviews with federal agents at his home in Lincoln and at his lawyer's office in Washington. A federal jury in Los Angeles found the 9-term Republican guilty of concealing information and 2 counts of making false statements. Now, Fortenberry and his wife Celeste praised the ruling, saying, "We're gratified by the Ninth Circuit's decision." Fortenberry adding, "Celeste and I would like to thank everyone who has stood by us and supported us with their kindness and friendship." Representatives from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Los Angeles, they did not have an immediate comment.